morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kura Isagami, your resident Tinkerer and Metarodder, and this is the Metarot News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet fighting robot series. Well, this week, even though we are wrapping up on the third week of the Rockman Battle Network third rerun of the collab, and on top of the Girls Mission event that we had this last week, it did honestly look like Imagineer and So What we're trying to slam a whole bunch of events on top of each other, and I'm more than certain the community probably didn't care too much for that, albeit that the Girls Mission, Metarodders, and Metarots were most certainly a welcome addition to the game. Thankfully, though, it does look like this week will be slowing down just a little bit, with far fewer gacha banners going live initially, but a lot more of the fan favorites that folks might be wanting to capitalize on or collect. And on top of that, we are also getting the second model of the three most recent Ori meta winners. The first of which, of course, was the goodest zombie boy Dead Dog that you see here. That being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what was announced for this week, as it is going to be a very light week overall, and I think something that's going to be very openly welcomed by the community. First of which are the gacha banners going live this week, first of which is the second Ori meta winner of this recent batch of 3, and that is RBT-06 Harry Rabbit, with the kit of Pile, Power Hammer, Bug, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Continuous P. And then, of course, in honor of him going live, we're also getting a rerun of the fairly recent, already run Spotlight Ori meta, ZBD-0 Dead Dog, with the kit of Confusion, Double Sacrifice, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Shape Memory. Now, it is honestly worth noting as a friendly reminder for folks that are looking to go after the goodest Dead Dog and Good Boy, he does have both versions of Sacrifice between melee and shooting, so choose wisely depending on how you are wanting to raise him if you do go after him. Harry Rabbit, on the other hand, is most certainly going to be packing a very aggressive kit right out of the box, which honestly will make him very, very useful for new players and rookies that are just starting out, because he's packing a lot of very good skills under the hood with very good stat spreads across the board too. That being said, though, I wouldn't get your hopes up and hold your horses just yet in terms of whether or not you pull for them, primarily for the reminder that both of these models are being implemented in the permanent pool of the game. This means that they can be pulled for and collected at any time in any banner, including the permanent one, of course, once any other limited banners go live. That being said, I would honestly encourage backing off and not pulling on these banners, since you do already have a chance for pulling them from any other one on top of that. Now, with the tail end of the Rockman collab that we're getting on week 3, we are getting the last two models that were introduced in the second run, which are RME-05 Uranade with a kit of Scrape, Wide Break, Tornado, Float Legs, and the leg ability of Mars. And then, of course, everyone's favorite heavy bruiser, RME-06 Guts Power, with a kit of Mirror Guard, Blow Away, Power Hammer, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Trap Buster. Now, even though all the Rockman models have something very useful that you can use pretty much anywhere, with the exception of Guts Power to a point, because I honestly don't see them as the really big collaborative model of the group, all the models you really can't ever go wrong with picking or pulling for, because they're all very useful in one way or another that with varying levels of utility. But if you wanted to have a personal preference and idea on who to pull for first and a priority, I absolutely, without a doubt, would want to go after Sword Blues first, because Sujigiri is a fantastic skill you can use pretty much anywhere, and if you want to stay on the edge in competitive meta, you are absolutely going to need that part. Behind him, Leader Colonel packs a lot of very handy buffs and a good good leg ability and stats, and Buff Trap on the head is honestly something you can never go wrong with either, to kind of deter your enemy from using any positive buffs like Stat Cleanse or Hyper Crept and keep them off the table. Behind him, Uranade honestly would be pretty solid too, especially if you want someone who specializes in gravity attribute skills, which also is very good for high crits and heavy punish, especially with Tornado on top of that to really spice things up as well. Behind Uranade, Dark Trance, which is the new model of the 3rd edition rerun, is essentially a very aggressive form of rock, and as such can be used more readily out of the box. That being said, behind Dark Trance, Fortate is honestly the next best model to go after for more readily and more utilized friendly shooting skills right out of the box. Rock Trans, you might have to prep a little bit too if you want to use him, but he is still a very good model to collect, And then last but not least, Guts Power as the last model to collect, and probably the least priority of all the Rockman models. It is, though, however, worth noting that Rock and Forte also are capable of TP and tune-up treatments, which means that you can redeem extra missions for points that you can use to permanently boost their skills and their abilities. With the Fierce battles we have this week, it's going to be relatively low-key as well, so not a whole lot of really big or high-priority bots to shoot after, but honestly bots that are still worth collecting all the same, even if just for the library listing. First of which is BRA-0 Land Brachio with Anti-Air, Double Beam, Tank Legs, and the leg ability of Bullet Rain. Behind him, we have GRM Wild Ukon with Rifle, Double Hammer, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Radiator. And then last but not least, FSK-0 Jinban Fairy with a kit of Charge Plant, Double Claw, Flight Legs, and the leg ability of Snow Type. Now, again, all three models here have something of varying utility you could use them for, but honestly, I would absolutely have to give MVP of the week to Jinban Fairy, not just for the fact that Flight Legs are very good for good base mobility, and Charge Plant is something you really can't ever go wrong with using, especially if you need someone to fulfill Metaphor Sustain on the team and can't easily fill it. But Flight Legs with Snow type leg ability means that they're going to have advantage on a terrain Flight Legs normally suck at or have very little of a terrain bonus on. So while everyone else will be relatively struggling to keep up on that snowy terrain, these legs will absolutely be breezing back and forth and make prepping a lot of attacks a lot easier, even if they are a relatively expensive leg to raise at only 1 star. Now, in terms of that, we actually have a special daily gacha that is going live starting this week. So even though we don't have them all being dumped on us at once, thankfully, we do have a lot of very handy models that a lot of players could make use of, and there's a lot of them here that are actually fan favorites that have made very large strides in popularity depending on who you go after. The first of which we'll be seeing on 420 is ROZ0 Dead Quasar, the King of Zodiac type, with a kit of Laser, Virus, Destroy, Multi-Legs, and the leg ability of G-Control, which grants him total mastery on all terrains when he reaches a certain Metaforce threshold. Behind him on 421, when his banner closes, we'll be seeing KWG-06 Tyrell Beetle, with Desperate, Double Beam Sword, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Fortress for extra defense, and is also capable of meta-changing into a dominantly shooting-based kit. When his banner closes on 422, we'll be seeing BEF-0 Hodo Yoichi Bofuri, with kits of Meteor, Double Break Hammer, Tank Legs, and the leg ability of Adversity. On 423, we'll have more or less kind of the odd one out of this bunch, in my personal opinion, TND-01 Gats Hurin, with a kit of Time Attack, Double Tornado, Biped Legs, and also the leg ability of Continuous P. On 424, we'll be getting everyone's favorite new hybrid beetle type, KXK-02 Kreut Bison, with a kit of Slash, Long Shot, Beam Sword, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Weapon Master. And for those that have already seen him or have already collected him, know he also is capable of changing into a dominantly shooting-based form, making him a true master between that of melee and long-range combat. On 425, we'll be seeing ALI-03 Metal Eater, who we actually have not seen in a while, if I'm being completely honest, with a kit of Deathlock, Ghost, Ghost Shot, Float Legs, and the leg ability of Auto Repair. And then last but not least, on 426, the Archdevil type ADV-0 Grain, with a kit of Metaphor Seal, Confusion, Static, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Blowbeat. Now, he too also is capable of transforming into a more Fortress-like form that gives him much more of an aggressive type design and combat skill while he's on the field. Now, if the collab models don't necessarily tickle your fancy, and you are steering clear of Harry Rabbit and Dead Dog this week, these are definitely going to be the big banners you want to shoot for, because compared to collabs, which always are nice, and I will always put priority on collabs over all other models, these ones are generally also parts you can never go wrong with using for fantastic variety of reasons, be that as pure sets or as mixed parts. Now, with the Rockman collab getting ready to come to a close here in the next week or so, I do also want to give a final reminder and just a friendly heads up for folks that have not been paying attention to events. but we do have 4 alternative event modes that we can participate in for the collab and capitalize on the rewards. For the event itself, you can capitalize on free collab Metarotters, Heart Roll, who is the other model from the collab, who is an event reward, and of course any extra BGMs or profile banners or anything else offered. We also have 2 super invasions that are currently available, rounds 1 and 2. Thankfully for you, the only modifier on those rounds is just overclocked enemy medals, which means you can go in with your best team and your best parts and absolutely knock it out of the park relatively easily as long as you know what you're doing and pay close attention to what you're doing on each turn relative to your foe. And then we also have one last round of the marathon survival, which is again kind of a survival marathon kind of test more than anything else, and a check to see if you've been keeping up to date with raising other parts and raising backup parts to have just for the sake of having on hand for events like these. There are a lot of rewards on the line here to be had, and it would definitely be and most certainly be recommended that you capitalize on doing these and knocking them out before the event ends, for sure, and you miss out. Now, on the community front, we are still always looking for translators, encoders, and cleaners to assist us with any of our fan projects. Currently on the docket, we have Medarot 3 and the Medarot Reloaded manga translations, which are currently ongoing. Medarot 3 thankfully has been making incredible leaps and bounds, as we have approximately 60% or so of the game translated, if I do recall correctly. And we are still working on decompiling Medarot 4 just to get it to prepare for that. So there still is a lot of work that needs done, and we have games that we absolutely want to shoot for too, like Medarot 5 and Navi, or even going back and doing the original 2, just for the sake of having it done for completion. So if you would like to assist with these projects or help, or even have someone that you know would love to help, feel free to send them our way, reach out to me, or join us in the Discord, and we can get them in touch with the right people to fill them in on what has been done and what still needs done up to this point. Now, with the weekly art highlights here on the MNN, which I always love doing and highlighting local artists in the community as well, this piece here by Twitter user Neko Neoban was actually a piece done just today at time of recording, highlighting another lesser known model of the Medarot series, especially lovers of Medarot 2 and 2 Core, and that is the wolf eel type Bifish, a rather somewhat obscure aquatic type which only showed up in a handful of early titles and then sadly never again. And of course this piece here by Twitter user Ray Saisei, who highlighted everyone's new favorite hybrid beetle type, Kreutz Bison, in both his main and transformed forms. So wonderful work to the both of you, and if you would like to see more Medarot art, or you would love to give them a follow, most certainly do so and give your support to them. But with all this being said, I do believe that covers everything for this week's episode, so again, it is going to be a relatively light week in terms of new content or a lot of stuff being dumped on us. It's going to be a really good way to recoup and focus more on other resources or other endeavors that you were focusing on, such as, say, farming for the new materials, for overclocking metals, or even focusing on some of the leftover super invasions you've been putting to the side. But with all that being said, if you'd like to know more, you can follow us below on Facebook at the Medarot News Network page or the Metabots Forever communities on there. You can also join us on Discord in the link provided and in the comments below, and this will keep an even closer ear to the ground on the action. This includes any new merchandise that's released or announced, new fan art, my weekly episodes, or even want to get in touch with the Medarot Western community. Definitely join us there and get in on the fun. You can also reach out to me personally on Twitter at IsagamiKura, so if you have any questions or feedback or comments, or would just love to stop in and say hello or even say hi, I leave my DMs open for that very reason on Twitter. So feel free to reach out and say hi, and I'll get back to you when I can on that. Additionally, if you are a streamer or VTuber watching me in my little niche corner of the internet and would love to collab, whether that be me guest hosting with you on your channel or having you stop in with me to report on a weekly episode once, I would love to coordinate with you. So feel free to reach out to me on Twitter and we can most certainly make something happen. Last but not least, definitely give these two pages a follow as well. I want to kind of toot my own horn here a little bit with this first one here on Project Unison on Twitter and also Project Unison on YouTube. This is actually a more public channel that myself and a group of buds are currently working on, where we actually kind of post our week gameplay that we do, or commentary while playing games, or even just our regular usual shenanigans, the gremlins that they are. You heard nothing. But anyway, definitely give them a follow as well, because we are currently working through posting our ongoing gameplay of the Mega Man Legends, the original, and we also have some gameplay of other videos that we like to have done as well. And additionally to this, definitely give my friend Utahime at Utahime00 a follow as well. Great friend of mine, fantastic art, especially with dabbling with the 3D modeling and the animation as well. Fantastic work to you in learning that and applying those new skills to what you know. Fantastic work and keep it up. All this being said, if you'd like to know more, again, follow us below. And as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping by, just as you always do. Until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.